Like many of you, I totally got swept into the hype of these cute little paints. Do I regret it 4 years later? Not a chance. Hello, my name is Juli, and on my channel I make art-related videos like this one, and this one, and even that one. I love my Jelly Gouache sets. Even though I'm a novice at using the medium, Jelly Gouache is still very much satisfying to paint with, or it was. You know, when I first purchased the sets, opened the little jelly cups, and was struck with these beautiful, vibrant pudding-like paints. Before they became drier than the Sahara. Dun dun dun. I know, I won't shut up about my 2 years spent teaching English in South Korea, but it was kind of pivotal, okay? Also, it meant that 95% of my art supplies stayed in my bedroom in Canada. Jelly gouache included, which means they became all dried and cracked, kind of like your hands in the winter. I took it upon myself to revive them, breathe life into them again, make them usable. Not that they're unusable dried, just slightly less satisfying. Now, was the revival process worth the 4 hours of hell it put me through? The cramped hands and the inhaled paint fumes? Honestly, yeah, it was. It made me fall in love with gouache. It made me want to try using it again despite my fears. Look, I've had a pretty bad experience with the medium, and yes, it was 100% due to my inexperience with it and art in general. This time around, I was prepared to use it right. To revive the paints, I started off with saturating all of the little jelly cups with distilled water, and then leaving them to sit overnight. This softened them up slightly, but not enough to bring them back to their former glory. I added more water, more than I anticipated, and left them to sit for another night. This seemed to do the trick. There were still globs of paint that were quite hard. It took a ton of stabbing via palette knife to slowly incorporate the water into the dried paint. Stab, 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 mix, 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 add water, repeat. That was my so-called method. This is the process that took nearly 4 hours. I have 2 sets of Jelly Gouache, one under the HIMI brand and a pastel version under Arrtx, 18 colors each, which means I had to revive 36 jellies. The point is, it was a lot of work. My eyes were fixated on the gouache cups too, so instead of watching a couple of movies in that time or a ton more YouTube videos, I actually just listened to the, wait for it, Duolingo Spanish podcast, which is incredible for beginner or intermediate Spanish learners. There's always a captivating real-life story featured in each episode, and it's broken down in simple Spanish, intermixed with English for context. Amazing. There's even a French podcast for you French learners. I'll link them down below. They're really worth checking out. No, my tiny little channel was definitely not sponsored by Duolingo. I'm just a fangirl. I recently lost my 150-day streak, but anyways, add me in Duolingo if you're on it. Here's my username. You don't hear that often, huh? Like, subscribe, follow me on Duolingo. You know, the basics. After practicing my Spanish listening skills and reviving all of the paint, I felt a little uneasy about leaving these paints as they were. Since I added extra water to them, I was concerned they may start to mold over time. Look, I know I'm probably overthinking, but you really never know what's put into these paints in the manufacturing process. Maybe it wasn't just regular or distilled water. Maybe whatever liquid was used had some sort of preservative in it. So with a load of paranoia and a bottle of clove oil, I took out my palette knife once again and mixed in 2 drops of clove oil per jelly cup. In case you don't already know, clove oil is one of the most effective essential oils for preventing mold. It acts as a natural preservative, and it's commonly used in homemade watercolor binder, which I actually made before I dove into reviving these gouache sets. I'll be making homemade paint again, and we'll upload a video soon on making watercolor binder and using it to create some beautiful, if I do say so myself, handmade paints. So stay tuned for that, or watch some of my older videos of making homemade watercolors. ASMR, link in description. After incorporating the clove oil, I cleaned up the gouache containers and added the little cuppies back in. So both sets were good as new. Only they smelled so much nicer with the clove oil. And now every time I have them sitting on my desk, my whole room smells of cloves. And it really is a lovely scent. Even my artwork smells slightly of cloves. Side note, how amazing would it be to have scented artist grade paints? I'm just saying, that's an untapped market right there. So after my paints were ready to go, I created a piece of artwork using a Pinterest reference photo of @TaraChandra_. Unfortunately, my Sony ZV-1 camera died on me. It just malfunctioned mid-recording. I've only had this camera for 2 years, and I took really good care of it. It set me back $900, and now it is busted. Y'all, I am pissed. Heartbroken, genuinely. Also, heads up, Sony has god-awful customer support. I read that Canon is a lot more understanding with cases like this, so next time I'll definitely stick with Canon. I'm just really disappointed in Sony and the quality or lack of this very expensive camera. So this was filmed using my old Canon. It's like 15 years old, my little green camera. So I don't know if you can even notice the quality difference. Hopefully not, but Canon is definitely the way to go. Anyways, I was really happy with the artwork too, but the footage became corrupted as well. So I started anew and ended up painting a different reference photo. And believe me when I say, I really tried to find the source through countless image search links, but I just could not for the life of me track down the original version of this image. So if anyone comes across it, please let me know and I'll give credit where it's due. I don't love how this one turned out. Working with the paint was awesome, and I really feel like I'm starting to get the hang of gouache, you know, compared to the past. But as an amateur artist, not every sketch is going to be a hit. Essentially, the woman in the reference photo is a stunner, and I most definitely did not do her justice. Her face scares me a little, I'll be honest. I know I could have used washi tape for a clean edge, but there was something therapeutic about creating the border by hand, and I also like that it's not perfectly straight. I just love how vibrant these paints are. The colors are just unreal, and they blend so beautifully together. They layer well, and I can't get over how clean and flat the paint dries. I mean, that is gouache's job, of course, but I've worked with some streaky budget gouache sets in my time. It does not make for a great experience. You really can't get a better deal of price and quality than these Jelly Gouache sets. I will link these specific sets below, but I'm pretty sure all of the gouache sets out there are similar, if not identical. The gouache itself is like 95% revived now. There are still small little beads of semi-dry paint in most of the container. Over time, it might just reintegrate with the rest of the paint, or maybe it won't, but honestly, it doesn't really bother me, and I was able to mix them in once the paint was on my palette, so it really isn't a hindrance. Overall, this experience was much more positive than negative. It really is an exciting thing to rediscover your love for an old medium, and most importantly, to use the art supplies in your roster that are just collecting dust. I feel like I'm fulfilling their purpose, however late, but it is a good feeling. I'm no longer afraid of using gouache, and I'm excited to see what else I can do with it. There's really not much you can ask for aside from that. I still deeply struggle with skin tones, as you can probably tell, with both gouache and watercolor. So once I get a better grasp on that, I'd love to repaint my very first gouache painting. Yeah, that's the one. And I will film it to show my improvement over the years, and to further emphasize that when you're at rock bottom, the only way to go is up. On that note, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Good luck with reviving your own gouache sets. Let me know if your experience is less strenuous or even more so than mine. Like, comment, subscribe, or don't, you decide. And of course, follow me on Duolingo. Adios.